At first light, the Andes breathe. Clouds spill over a razor-thin ridge and, for a few heartbeats, the world is only wind, white mist, and the thunder of a river carving the valley far below. Then the veil lifts and stone appears. Terraces stepping down a mountainside, sacred walls catching the sun, doorways cut into the spine of the earth. It feels impossible, like a city dreamed into being. But Machu Picchu is real. A 15th century sanctuary, perched around 2,430 meters above sea level, balanced between two guardians, Machu Picchu to the south and Huayna Picchu to the north, while the Urubamba River curls around it like a silver serpent. This was not a city of chance. It was a choice, precise and audacious. That choice began with Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, the empire maker, the transformer of the world. Under his rule, the Inca stitched mountains to jungles with the Qhapaq Ñan, a high-altitude road system that defied terrain and distance. Somewhere in that era, his builders and priest astronomers climbed this knife-backed ridge and read what the landscape offered. A natural fortress embraced on three sides by cliffs and river, clean spring water high on the slope, a horizon where the sun would rise and set in ways a sacred city could measure. Machu Picchu was likely conceived as a royal estate and ritual center, a place where power dressed itself in ceremony and the sky kept time for the empire. The first stones set the tone. The Inca built without iron tools, without wheels, without draft animals like oxen or horses. Yet their masonry fits so tightly that a blade of grass struggles to slip between the blocks. Trapezoidal doors and windows lean slightly inward. Walls settle into earthquakes instead of shattering. Bedrock was not just an obstacle, it was a collaborator. Within the city, a quarry still yawns, the scar where raw stone was split and coaxed into form. Ramps and levers, llama caravans and human endurance. This was engineering as choreography, turning weight into grace. Look down the flanks and you see the secret that keeps the whole place alive. Terraces, long green ribs hugging the mountain. To a casual eye, they're pretty gardens. In truth, they're machines. Each terrace is layered: stone, gravel, sand, rich topsoil, drinking cloudbursts and letting water go at a measured pace. They grow maize, potatoes, and medicinal plants. Yes. But more importantly, they nail the city to the slope, shifting it from hazard to home. Along the left shoulder, a spring-fed canal becomes the backbone of daily life, stepping through the city as a chain of stone fountains, often counted around 16, each one catching water, calming it, and handing it down to the next. This is hydrology written in granite. Follow that water toward the heart, and the city's purpose sharpens. The sacred plaza is where sky and stone converse most clearly. On its high terrace sits the Intihuatana, the hitching post of the sun. It isn't a random rock, it is a carved instrument. Edges and faces align with the path of the sun and the turning of seasons, letting priest astronomers mark time as light itself. Nearby, the Temple of the Sun curves around a natural boulder. On solstices, the sun threads the window and strikes an interior altar with surgical precision. Step east and the Room of the Three Windows opens on the dawn, echoing creation stories about first ancestors emerging from three sacred apertures. Everywhere you turn, utility and symbolism braid together. The Temple of the Condor fuses sculpture and outcrop into one sweeping form. The sacred rock mirrors the mountain behind it. The Sun Gate, Inti Punku, frames that first, astonishing view for those who arrive on foot along the Inca Trail. If you could walk these lanes 5 centuries ago, you'd hear the living texture of the place. Quechua voices, weavers working backstrap looms, stone polishers burnishing ashlar joints, farmers tending terraces while priest astronomers climb stairs to study the sky. Messages move faster than you'd expect because runners, chasqui, carry them in relays along ridgeline roads, trading breath for distance. Records live not on paper but in cuepas, cords of colored fiber tied in positional knots that store numbers and categories with startling sophistication. Life here isn't loud, it's deliberate. Ceremony isn't decoration, it's policy. A bath channel cut into a noble courtyard tells you as much about authority as any throne. Then the world tilts. Smallpox rides ahead of conquerors, civil war rips the empire between Huascar and Atahualpa, Pizarro takes Cusco, and the Inca state buckles. Not one Spanish chronicler claims to have visited Machu Picchu. The silence is telling. Whether through disease, retreat, politics, or pragmatism, the sanctuary empties. Vines knit the stairways, orchids root in wall joints, spectacled bears slip along terraces at dusk. The city does not fall, it recedes, but it doesn't vanish. Quechua families farm nearby, pass along the mountain names, and walk the old paths. Machu Picchu waits with the patience of stone. If this kind of hidden engineering and sky measuring architecture is your thing, tap like and subscribe. Your support lets us bring more lost places to life, one epic story at a time. A different century arrives with a different kind of hunger. In 1911, a Yale scholar named Hiram Bingham follows rumors toward the ridge. A local farmer, Melchor Arteaga, guides him up wet slopes. A boy from a nearby family leads the last meters through brush and vine. Stairways appear, courtyards breathe again. Bingham photographs what the cloud forest kept and the world forgot to ask about, then publishes an issue of National Geographic that reads like a spell. The phrase lost city sticks, even though it wasn't lost to those who lived in its shadow. Excavations begin. Artifacts travel to Yale for study, and eventually, after long negotiation, return to Peru in agreements that acknowledge both research and rightful home. Visitors arrive the way rivers do, slowly at first, then as a flood. The train snakes the valley, buses switch back up the mountain, hiking permits cap the Inca Trail to preserve the experience and the stone. Preservation is a verb now. Archaeologists clean drains because without them, a single rainy season can gnaw at foundations. Conservators replant native grasses in terrace joints because roots are softer than mortar and move with the mountain. Rangers set time windows and daily quotas not to spoil your trip, but to ensure there is still a trip for those who come after you. The work is endless because erosion is patient. Part of the site's power is the ecosystem that holds it. This is cloud forest where Andean ridges meet Amazon humidity. Over 100 species of orchids flare from moss and bark. Hummingbirds thread terraces like living emeralds. The Andean cock of the rock flashes a shock of orange through shadow. On quiet evenings, a spectacled bear might pad along the tree line, indifferent to the ideas humans attach to stone. Machu Picchu is not a fortress pressed onto a cliff. It is a negotiation between people and mountain, water and gravity, purpose and place. And the myths? They say aliens placed the stones. Geology and craft say otherwise. They say it's purely a military outpost. The planning of temples, fountains, and ritual approaches answers that with a measured no. They say it was discovered by accident. Local knowledge walked Bingham there. The true story is better than the myths because it respects both genius and sweat. Ashlar joints that still hold after centuries of earthquakes. Terraces that farm and stabilize at once. A carved stone that watches the sun and refuses to be ordinary. A road network that ties peaks and valleys into one woven geography. An empire that records its world in knots and memory rather than ink, and still manages to keep time with the sky. Stand at the guardhouse and look down. The city's plan makes sense the way music does. Sections in conversation, themes returning with variation. Royal residences occupy the gentler shoulder near the fountains. Ritual spaces crown the heights. Worker and service areas gather where labor meets need. Agricultural terraces wrap it all like parentheses. Nothing is accidental, not even the views. The Inca arranged their city so that walking it became a lesson. The way light enters a room, the way water teaches patience. The way a doorway frames a mountain to tell you that beyond stone, there is always a larger order. If you come by foot along the Inca Trail, the classic 40-plus kilometer route, you earn the revelation. On the fourth dawn, you pass through Inti Punku, the sun gate, and the geometry unfurls just as the day does. That moment remakes your sense of scale. You feel how small a person is and how large intention can be. You understand why a sanctuary would be placed exactly here, where ridgelines cross and the weather writes and rewrites the horizon every hour. So what, finally, is Machu Picchu? It is a royal estate, a sacred observatory, a statement in stone that the Inca could think like geologists and pray like poets. It is evidence that a society without iron and paper can still bend a mountain to shared purpose. It is proof that beauty and utility are not enemies. And it is a reminder that forgetting is easy. Remembering takes work. By locals who kept the paths, by scholars who argued and documented, by conservators who lift moss with a brush and clear a drain by hand, by visitors who accept limits because love without discipline is just erosion with better branding. As evening returns, the clouds slide back over the ridge. Water ticks down fountain lips. A shadow of a condor passes across the sacred plaza. The city changes gears. Night here doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like the mountain exhaling. Somewhere below, the Urubamba keeps worrying at the valley, carving the same letter into the earth it has written for millions of years. Above, the stars take attendance. Between them and the river, a city continues its long conversation with time. If one detail surprised you, the terraces as machines, the solstice light threading a window, the runners sprinting messages across ridges, or the quiet truth that local families never forgot this place, carry it with you. Let it adjust your idea of what people can do when they decide to match a landscape instead of bully it. And when you tell someone about Machu Picchu, don't just repeat the highlights. Tell them the shape of the work. Tell them the patience of water. Tell them why stone that listens can outlast stone that shouts. If this story moved you, share it with someone who loves mysteries made of stone, and tell us in the comments which moment hit you hardest. For more cinematic journeys into the world's hidden histories, subscribe and stay with the Quiz Hub.